Hello and welcome to Community Chats. I'm your host, Aley Hammer, and today we're back with Lucy Wang, who's here to share some resume tips. But before we get started, please let us know in the comments below what topics you would like us to speak about next. Anything early careers related, resumes, certifications, how to land a job at Amazon, what it's like to work at Amazon. Pop your suggestions in the comments below and we'll create the content for you next week. So let's begin. Luce, you joined us today to share resume tips. So can you start by telling us a little bit about what students should include in their resume when applying to an internship or a grad role at AWS?
Sure, thanks for having me here today, Ali. It's really important for students to invest time into building a good resume because your resume is usually the first impression you give to a potential employer and is what helps you progress to the interview stage. So when applying to an internship or grad role at AWS, always remember to tailor a resume based on the job description instead of sending out a generic resume every time you apply to something. Regardless of the role though, there's a few sections that everyone should include, and here's what I've included in my own one. I started off with my key contact information, so email, phone number, and LinkedIn profile, followed by an education section, so what I was studying at university. Here, you should also include your predicted graduation month and year because it makes it so much easier for recruiters to see whether you're in your penultimate year, final year, or first few years of your degree. Next, I had a list of my university and work experiences. So here I listed out my previous internships and what student societies I was a part of. And under each of these experiences, I had 2 or 3 dot points just outlining what I did for each role and what impact I was able to achieve. And finally, I had a section with some of my awards, followed by a skills section that highlighted some of my technical skills. But please keep in mind that this is just the structure I used for my own resume. And depending on the job you're applying for, you might need to include more sections, such as a list of your technical projects if you're applying to a more technical role.
Thanks, Luce. I mean, spending time on your resume really does help you stand out from the crowd. And Luce, you mentioned that it's important not to send out a generic resume to every single job that you might apply for. So do you have any tips for students when it comes to tailoring their resume for a specific job?
So to tailor your resume, start by taking a look at the job description and highlight all the keywords that are being used. This will help you understand what the job entails and what skills the hiring manager is looking for. You know, as a student, even if you don't have a lot of industry experience, chances are there's a lot of transferable skills that you can bring to the table, such as problem solving and working effectively in a team. So don't list out every single experience you've had, but instead focus on the ones that best align with the skills mentioned on the job description. Another way to tailor your resume, especially if the job you're applying for is very different to all your other previous experiences, is to add a short summary at the top of the page to highlight the unique value you can bring and why you're applying to the position. This is completely optional, and it really depends on what you prefer.
That's some really great advice and will definitely help you increase your chances in landing the role that you want. So finally, Luce, what are some common mistakes that students might make and that they should actually avoid when creating their own resume?
So one mistake I see is students making their resume a bit too long. There's not really a rule around this, but having more than 2 pages is not really recommended for anyone with less than 5 years of industry experience. Another mistake is not putting in enough quantifiable metrics and action verbs to show the impact they were able to achieve through each of their experiences. And one final mistake to avoid is having any typos or grammatical errors. This one can be easily avoided by getting a second pair of eyes to proofread your resume. But overall, don't spend too long trying to perfect your resume. Remember to also spend time improving your interview skills and doing research on the company and industry that you're interested in.
Luz, thank you so much for coming back on the show. We're really excited to have you next week again. Just a reminder, please pop your suggestions in the comment section below and we will film the video that you want to see. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, Aley. See you soon.